A really common question that I get on a lot of my amp videos is valve choice and what I have sitting in my amps. I've got my DSL 50 behind me, and I have got them loaded with these guys in the preamp section at the moment. Come on, focus, you can do it. Hopefully you guys can see that. These are JJ ECC 83S tubes, also known as 12AX7 tubes. They're pretty much the stock standard in all of this. And before you notice as well, I just washed my hair. It's doing weird things at the moment, so I apologize about that. But pretty much, yeah, these are the stock standard tubes that you would put in like a Marshall or basically any like sort of production amp at the moment. There's two alternatives that I'm going to try out to this. And the DSL has 4 preamp valves, so I'm going to try each tube in each of the 4 preamp valve slots. The first one we're going to have a listen to is also a JJ manufactured tube. It's a 5751. I got that the right way around. I've been saying 5157 and sounding like I don't know what sort of amp Eddie Van Halen plays. But this is essentially a very similar valve to a 12AT7 valve. So we're going to have a listen to that one. And then I have this. This is super cool. This is a new old stock 12AU7. It's not a JJ. But it is made in England, which is pretty cool. And a huge thanks to my buddy Graham, who does all my amps. He's got a bunch of cool new old stock tubes, and he hooked me up with these, which I'm pretty excited to hear. So we're first going to hear the 5751 in each of the 4 valve slots. Then we'll hear the 12AU7. Then this is going to be really interesting because I'm going to listen back to all of them and kind of pick the one that I like. Essentially what I am after is to have basically the front end gain of the red channel on the DSL a little bit more manageable. So I basically want less gain, which is why I'm interested in each of these tubes. And I would like the gain control to be a little bit more usable, because at the moment, when you turn it up to about 10 o'clock on either lead 1 or lead 2, it just starts to get really saturated and mushy. I think it sounds really good, but it would be nice to have finer control over the gain there. So in the clip, what we're going to have a listen to is the amp with exactly the same settings. Again, this isn't really about the tone of the amp, it's about the gain. So listen out for the gain, listen out for any characteristics of the gain which change. And I'm basically running this amp into my Mesa 212 with a vintage 30 speaker that I've mic'd with a Sennheiser E906 going into my Apollo Twin. No post-processing, it's just the amp and the cabinet and the microphone. And yeah, have a listen out for all those kind of things. Let's go. So for me in that clip, the difference between the stock 12AX7 ECC83 and the 5751 was pretty negligible. I was going back and forth and I was sort of like, man, if there is a difference, it's so subtle that it doesn't really matter. But there was a huge difference I found between the stock tubes and the 12AU7. And in V3 and V4, I really didn't like the 12AU7. I thought it actually decreased the volume of the amp, which was interesting. So I'm guessing that V3 and V4 are, you know, like have something to do with the phase inverter, or they're driving the power amp. But in V1 and V2, I thought it was much better. And I have to say the winner is this guy, the little 12AU7 in the V2 slot. So let's have a listen to the stock amp, and then we're going to have a listen to the 12AU7 in V2, and I'm just going to show you how much more usable the gain control is. So as you heard from that clip, having the 12AU7 in that V2 slot gives the gain control a whole lot more sort of headroom. And I don't know if this is something that could be accomplished by just changing the pot taper, but there is definitely like less gain at lower volumes. And it just seems to be more like, you know, that sweep from the gain at about 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. You can actually hear the difference in there now, rather than it just becoming mush at about 10 o'clock and then not really changing any further up. I think it makes the lead 2 mode a lot more usable as well, and it cleans up the green channel, which is nice. So I'm just going to play some examples with that. Let me know what you think of the different valve choices and different positions in there, and let me know if you've tried similar things, or if you're going to try similar things now that you've heard this video. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe, and I will see you all around soon. Here's some jamming.